Good evening, folks, and welcome to Garbage Theater. Tonight's installment, The Hobbit, An Unexpected Journey. I'm your host, Chase, my co-host, Blake and John.
Hold on a second, John. I gotta ask a question to Chase.
Uh-oh.
What do you mean? Do you wish me a good evening? Or you mean that this is a good evening whether I want it or not? Or that you feel good this evening? Or that it's an evening to be good on?
All at the same time, I guess.
Okay. To think I've lived this long enough to be Good Evening by Jimmy Otan's son.
How long you been sitting on that?
Oh, since we decided to do the Hobbit.
Oh, boy. So, here we go. Part one of our three-part adventure down the Hobbit hole with The Hobbit, Part 1. Which I incorrectly called There and Back Again.
You did.
Last time. I can't remember what the goddamn parts were. This was supposed to be one movie.
Two movies. Two movies.
And then Guillermo del Toro said, fuck all of y'all, I'm out. Get Peter Jackson back up in here to phone this one in.
Well, it seems nobody really knows what happened to Guillermo on this movie, do they? Because he seems like he really wanted to do it. Like
he got fed up with Hollywood's bullshit as usual. They're never going to let this man do his thing.
It's like every time he does, it's gold. Just let him do a movie, you fucks.
Let him do At the Mountains of Madness. It's going to be a huge money sink. It's not going to make the money back. It's going to have a giant downer ending, but it's going to be fucking amazing.
Yeah, let him do it.
Just let him do it.
Yeah.
No one's going to pull off Lovecraft like he will. Just let him do it.
Yeah. People do other shit all the time. Like, that's, they're making Hocus Pocus too.
We're definitely doing that.
Just pull the plug on that. Give that money to Guillermo.
Funnel that money over there. Write it off as a loss. You're not getting it back. Only the super nerds are going to go see this thing.
Yeah, well, only white bitches over 35 are going to go see Hocus Pocus too, so who cares?
Well, and us, because we're doing it on the show.
Yeah, we're going to have to watch it.
100%.
But I'll pirate it to make sure that foot-faced bitch doesn't see any dimes on it.
It'll be on Disney Plus, but I'm still going to pirate it.
Exactly.
Oh, God. But we're not talking about Hocus Pocus. We're talking about The Hobbit.
Right.
Which
infinitely better than Hocus Pocus. Can y'all give me that?
Which did make its money back, and then some.
Yeah.
Budget of $180 million. Worldwide gross over $1 billion. So,
holy shit.
I guess I can't say that it, wasn't successful or anything.
Yeah.
No. Didn't they? I think they got progressively less successful, though.
Yes. Well, again, this wasn't supposed to be 9 hours of content.
Yeah, I did a bit of research on, on the making of this, and it's a bunch of dumb bullshit. All this behind the scenes producer shit, ruining a perfectly good movie or two movies.
Yeah. Now, we're gonna try to limit it to just the first part in this one, and we'll get to when they had to start. They had that guy in the back doing that stretch for time hand motion around the time Smaug shows up. So, clearly, this is New Line's fault, saying we want 3 movies.
Well, okay, so the thing, I guess, MGM owned the rights to The Hobbit, so New Line and MGM had to split it. They had to split the money, the profits, and then there was at some point MGM ended up losing the rights, so I can't remember exactly all the details. I'm fucking this all up. But they made a third movie so that New Line could get all the money from that movie, where they didn't have to share profits with MGM.
Okay, that makes more sense than anything I've heard. Because, like, I can see them doing something like that makes sense in, like, Hollywood accounting world, you know?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna make 2, and halfway through making the second one, they got the rights and said, "Oh, we got to make a third one so we can get some of that cash."
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, essentially.
You know how Smaug was supposed to be wrapped up in the middle of the second one? We're gonna hang on to him till the beginning of the third one.
Yeah, but you gotta admit, he looked fucking awesome.
He's not there. He's not here yet.
I know, but he looked
Reel it back. Reel it back. I guess my biggest issue with this the whole thing is that when you're going to do a prequel to an extremely successful franchise already, that's already grounded with a very distinct tone, and then you go back and you change the tone, it's weird.
I completely agree with you. And another thing that somebody made this point, and I thought it was a really interesting point, was like they made this to be a what's the word I'm looking for here?
They made it to sell action figures.
They had to like tie it directly back into Lord of the Rings. It's not they're making this a prequel to Lord of the Rings instead of Lord of the Rings being a sequel to The Hobbit.
Yes.
Yeah, there is that. But to the tone thing, the two stories in themselves are two totally different tones.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you can't like try to match the tone of the Lord of the Rings with The Hobbit, because that's never what it was.
Well, that's I think that's one of the problems with it, is like they should have. We didn't need this like framing device that they use where I don't need to see like old smoothed over Ian Holm again.
Yeah,
like we don't
again, the fact that it starts with Ian Holm and Elijah Wood is just setting me up for it's going to be Lord of the Rings.
You know what it is? I think we can blame. By the way, I'm gonna be defending this as much as I can in case you hadn't. I think we can blame like idiot moviegoers for that, because I think some people would be like, "Oh, I thought this was before Lord of the Rings. I didn't see anything with the Lord of the Rings," because there would be some of those dumb people like that. So they had to put that in there so people would know where they were.
Probably.
And that's what I wonder if Del Toro was able to make it. Would he have done that? Would he have had Elijah Wood in it?
Yeah, I mean, I wonder how much it seems like to me the studio was really like down everyone's necks on this, because they had Lord of the Rings, they're like huge success, and like the making the Hobbit just seemed like a cynical money making endeavor for them. Like it didn't seem like Guillermo del Toro seemed like he really cared and wanted to do it. Peter Jackson didn't.
No.
Yeah. I think it had troubled from the start. I'm sure the studio would have made him like link it directly back to Lord of the Rings because they think that's what the audiences want.
Yeah, I think it's the same thing like with the series that's going to come out. They haven't even given it a name. They just call it Lord of the Rings on Prime is like the temporary thing. Is so the idiots know that it's tied somehow to Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, even though it's going to take place, an era before.
Right. I mean, if you would just call it, the history of Numenor or something like that, there'd be idiots that had no clue what that is, and that's what they're afraid of. But, how many people didn't know a word of the Lord of the Rings before that movie came out, and they didn't have to do all the catch up on that one? But I don't know. I think that they are. Sometimes they think that the audience is stupider than they are, and think that if we don't explicitly say it, they'll never get it, and that isn't necessarily the case.
No, I think that's totally correct.
Okay.
And from like a marketing perspective, I understand why. It's just like it's just not good for the movie.
Right.
Yeah.
Because the beginning of the movie, even doesn't even start with. It starts with Bilbo, but old Ian Holm Bilbo. But then he like goes in and tells this whole. He does this whole like expositional thing about the Erebor and the dwarves, and I'm just like, just let Thorin tell this part later, like when they're when all the dwarves gather around. Like, this is a waste of time right here. It seems like you could have just put that part just a bit later, and it doesn't do anything for me. It's not like really introducing me to those characters. And then you don't even like, it introduces the dragon and shit, but we don't even see a dragon until like the very end of this movie, almost to the end of the next movie. It just doesn't do anything. The structure is one of the biggest problems with this entire trilogy.
Well, that being said, I did like seeing it. Maybe it could have been in a different spot in the movie, but I did like those scenes of them showing the dwarves.
Yeah, that's fine.
And
like I said, if it was transferred to a different part, I would have liked it better.
Yeah, and I would have been fine with the tone of it if it wasn't for the Ian Holm shoved in my face at the beginning.
Okay.
Like, if you want the dwarves to look the way they do, which it looks like they just hit randomize on the presets of Warcraft over and over again, and there's your dwarves.
Yes, they look so bad. All right, anyway, I'm sure we'll talk about more of it.
So, I mean, okay. If that's what you want it to look like, that's fine. But it needs to be its own thing, because I already know what a dwarf looks like. It's Gimli. These dwarves don't look anything like Gimli. Did technology, like armor technology, change that much in 60 years? That it looks like plastic now and it looks like real then?
A lot of
that's
stuff.
What I mean.
It does. This movie just like looks less grounded.
They intricately made every prop, every sticker, everything in Lord of the Rings, and they went.
I liked the dwarf armor better in the Hobbit movie. That's what dwarves are supposed to look like.
In World of Warcraft,
Gimli. Look. Lord of the Rings is a near perfect movie. However, his armor didn't really stick out to me. It wasn't like some of the elf armor and all that, where you gotta realize the dwarves in this world are like master craftsmen, and they make all this awesome shit just for themselves. And Gimli's armor looked like a normal person's armor.
I just felt like it felt more grounded and lived in. Like, just generally, like the entirety of the production design felt more lived in and real in Lord of the Rings. And I know, like, they cut corners in The Hobbit. Like, they didn't... I think I heard they didn't do, like, the forced perspective stuff anymore. They just, like, did it all digital.
Did it all green screen.
Yeah.
Which, that fucking sucks.
They wasn't going to allow them the time to do all that. Because it takes a huge amount of time to set that up. And apparently they were like, we're not doing that again.
They wanted their money now.
It's very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
JG Wentworth, 877 cash now. I want my money now.
Yes.
He does not sponsor us, by the way.
Now, luckily, since you're mainly dealing with dwarves most of the time, you didn't need a lot of the force perspective, but there were times where you really needed it.
Yeah.
Anything with Gandalf, you needed.
I mean, there's a lot. Again, I'm trying not to jump ahead, but there's scenes where there's human characters, there's slightly larger than human characters, there's the dwarves, and there's hobbits. And it seems like the scale's constantly shifting because they can't keep track. There's sometimes where the dwarves look tiny, like super tiny, when they should be like chest height to a man, right? Or are they
should be, yes.
Or are they like the cats dancing on the rail? It doesn't matter how big they are.
Easy. No, they should be about chest height.
Yeah.
But then it depends on what region that man comes from and all that, which I'll spare you all of that shit.
Christ almighty.
But Lake Town, yeah, usually they were normal sized people.
Yeah. We're treading on dangerous ground here, John. This thing could go careening off the rails anytime.
At any point. Don't get me started on the physical build of Numenorians versus normal men.
Lord help me. Yeah. I just I just don't want Blake to take any of this personally. I'm strictly talking about the film version of the story.
Believe me, I'm not going to take it personally.
I like The Hobbit just fine.
Because I like the movie, and it's cool if y'all don't like it. I'm fine with it, but I'll try to defend it.
I don't even like hate it. I'm kind of indifferent to most of it. There's stuff that I like a lot.
Yeah, I mean,
I find myself bored a lot of the time, but
I don't think this is going to end with is it garbage or not. It's clearly not garbage, but there's parts of it that I roll my eyes at. Definitely,
there are parts that I don't like, and we should probably just get to telling the story. But I'll say there are parts that I think they could have gone longer on, which we'll get to those too.
Okay.
Because they spent too long on some things where other things they should have spent more time on, but they didn't.
Yeah. So let's speed through the beginning here because we kind of already talked about it.
Yeah.
Open up, bag end. It's Bilbo's 111th birthday, right where we picked up like a couple of hours before in Lord of the Rings. Bilbo's writing his memoir to Frodo, and he says that, I've told you this story before, but this is the real shit right here.
That 100% uncut Colombian
This is the director's cut of The Hobbit.
That's some of the fanboys' explanation to the length of these movies. They say, the reason why everything ran long is because it's Bilbo's lengthy, exaggerated version of the sequence of events that happened.
Oh, so Mordor was like down the street in real
life? It's a horseshit excuse.
That's
what a lot of them say.
That's a fun little post hoc justification, but no, I don't think
turns
so.
out
that's not what happened.
It turns out they did actually ride the eagle straight to Mordor.
You can't do that. That's an argument for another day.
Those goddamn eagle summoning moths are just lousy around Middle Earth.
The damn, yeah, well, we'll get to it anyway.
I mean, The Hobbit was the rough draft for Lord of the Rings. A lot of the ideas are recycled. I get that.
But it wasn't even that, really, was it? Like, it was just he wrote a fun story, and then it was really successful, and they wanted him to write more, so he had to
he decided to write more. But you got to realize, before he even wrote The Hobbit, he already built the world and had a whole history made.
Yeah. Okay.
And then decided to make The Hobbit, and then wanted to make a trilogy to follow what happened to the Ring.
Yeah, I mean that's just what he did for shits in his spare time.
Yeah, exactly.
He's going to create a civilization with a language and a history. He was that kind of player. So Bilbo goes on about Erebor and Dale and the Wood Elves, and Thror is the ruler of the dwarves, and he wears a cage around his beard because that's apparently something that dwarves do.
That looked badass. I'm sorry.
Did it?
Yeah, it did.
That's the equivalent of all the belts in anime.
No, dude, look.
We just need belts.
Their whole jam is making things, dude. So they're very just, I'm going to make something and I'm going to wear it. Like, that's how they are.
He's like, what if my beard had a shirt?
What if my beard had armor? That's what he did. He had an armored beard.
It was like a beard mesh t-shirt.
Look, I'm gonna tell you now. If I had my choice to be whatever race in the land of Middle Earth, it'd be a dwarf. Just because that's how badass they are. I need armor for my beard.
Well, I mean, it seems like they used to have it pretty good, but not anymore.
John, John, that's your next project. I want a super detailed drawing of Thror sitting on his throne, stroking his beard. What if my beard had a shirt? And that's going to be our first shirt.
And yeah, it was bad for the dwarves for a while, but they bounced back.
Sure.
They did.
They're tough. They're tough little bastards.
Yeah,
They shouldn't even be, which, never mind. I don't want to get into their creation right now.
Okay.
The way they got created is pretty badass, though.
They just spring out of holes in the ground.
Sort of, but not really. But go ahead. We need to get into the movie, and then I'll talk about how they were made.
So, Thror rules, and everybody's got to pay fealty to him because Erebor's the greatest civilization. They're like Rome or some shit, I guess. Because they make stuff. They use big...
It's fucking dangerous in there. Like,
there's no handrails anywhere. It's like the Death Star in that fucking place.
It's just like
it is
crisscrossing
right.
paths over giant crevasses everywhere. All these dwarves just like hanging from strings.
I didn't see one of those little vertical maps like there's in the mall.
Nothing.
The contraptions they use to forge shit is the most ridiculous. I got this little piece of metal the size of a grapefruit, but I'm going to hold it up, and these two hammers the size of the Titanic each are going to swing in and smash the thing.
Okay.
Because there
is an explanation for this.
Because I got to make this cup or whatever it is that I'm making.
There is an explanation for this. He wasn't just messing with just gold, okay? They made all kind of things out of a multitude of metals and even stuff that they created on their own. That just a normal dwarf swinging a hammer isn't gonna form that.
I still wouldn't put my entire arm in between two massive boulders.
Hey,
that's because
Mr. Safety Inspector, Mr. Safety Inspector, give me an OSHA rating on Erebor.
Here's the thing. We're talking about beings that have a way they're just more durable than a normal person.
That's not gonna fly.
Even more durable than a Numenorian.
I gotta shut this whole place down.
This man's... I don't care how durable this dwarf is. His hand would be completely smashed.
Well,
there's fire and sparks spraying everywhere. You guys got these beards down to their feet, just hanging out. Like, this is...
They are
They're walking kindling.
They are badasses, and if you can't hang, you go sit in Lake Town and catch a fish or something.
Well, I hope somebody tells you that next time you're doing your rounds. Look, I'm a badass, and if you can't handle that...
Are dwarves invulnerable to fire?
That I'd have to get back with you on.
Okay. Well, because according to the films, they are, but they can be right next to some fire, no problem.
Well, they're tougher. That's the thing. So they might be able to withstand it a little more because they're just tougher. They're basically made of rocks. Jesus.
What'd I tell you?
What
I tell you could happen.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Dwarves were literally formed from stone.
Okay.
Let's just agree and move on because we're still in the prologue. This is why we need 3 parts to do this shit. Yeah. So Thror becomes obsessed with gold, and he's just getting all the gold in the world, and then some meager low-level dwarf uncovers the Arkenstone and brings it up to him. He's like, now I win.
Which I did think that was kind of fucked up, because they never did say in the book how he got the Arkenstone. But to think that some dude found it and then scurried up his rope and gave it to him, and he's like, well, that just proves that I'm the king. No, some other guy found it.
Yeah. This poor dirty guy making minimum wage, dangling from a rope.
Yeah, I felt for that guy.
So he finds it, gives it to him. He sticks it in his chair, my right to rule.
Yeah.
Manifest destiny. So everybody's gonna come and kiss the ring, but all this gold. Got a dragon come sniffing around for that gold. Mm-hmm. So before,
what's that? What's that, some gold?
That's what they do.
For too long, dragon comes down from the north, destroys Dale, destroys Erebor. Everybody, all the dwarves have to flee because Smaug takes over Erebor. They turn to the wood elves, and Thranduil's like, "Fuck you." He rides away on his deer.
What an ass.
So what happened here? Because like the dragon's in there, just fucking shit up. His army shows up on the ridge.
They're scared of the dragon.
Yeah. Well,
why did he show up with an army?
Well,
okay.
And also because he was he wanted the diamonds that are in there, and Thor was like, "Nah, you ain't getting them diamonds." He's like, "Well, fine, fuck you. I'm not helping you with your dragon."
So this wasn't explicitly in the book. So what I'm kind of reading between the lines is what is said in the books is before this happened, the Wood Elves and the Dwarves of Erebor traded frequently.
Yeah.
And they helped out each other a lot. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that Thranduil was showing up with his army, because he doesn't just ride alone, to maybe do some business. And there happened to be a dragon there. When he saw the dragon, he was like, "Peace out."
Bye.
Yeah. And from what I had read in between, before Smaug got there was a falling out between the Wood Elves and the Dwarves of Erebor.
It was starting to, yeah.
Yeah. Because, and again, try not to jump ahead, but in the next one, Thranduil tries to make a deal with Thorin about the diamonds in the goddamn caves that he wants so badly. And that started the whole beef.
That's what it is.
Is what I read.
That's what it is.
Okay.
So yeah, he shows up.
It's just like weird. There's a dragon. He's like, huh?
There's a lot of logistics in moving an army all the way over there to say, nah, and go home.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't think they were there to fight. I think they were there, like, to do business. And the dragon was there, and they said, well, we don't have enough people, which is probably true. They probably didn't have a big enough army to kill a dragon, because not many people do. Killing a dragon in Middle-earth is pretty risky business.
Yeah, and Thranduil's already faced dragons before.
Yeah.
And he's got the scars to prove it, so he doesn't want to fuck with a dragon.
Right. But people that got the best track record for killing dragons, though, is men. They usually do it by themselves, interestingly enough. Anyway.
Big dick in it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah. The dwarves are homeless. They say, hey, let's go to Moria. But oops, the orcs are in Moria. Can't go there.
Nope.
That's when they meet Azog, the white orc, and he kills Thror, and Thrain goes crazy, and Thorin fights Azog and cuts his arm off, and they drag him into Moria, and everybody goes their separate ways, saying, well, that's done.
Yeah, none of that was in the book.
No.
Azog does exist, but not in the Hobbit book. They just needed to have a bad guy, basically. Which I liked. I liked Azog, though. I think he's a good villain, but he wasn't. They just threw him in there, to have somebody.
And I
understand. I understand why they would need to do that.
Yeah. And he looked great. Like the CG of him was top fucking notch.
Yeah, but the CG of Bolg was not.
No, Azog got all the money. Bolg was the interns. So, we go back to present day-ish. Bilbo's 111th birthday. He's got to hide all the silverware because those goddamn in-laws or something are coming over. I'm not exactly sure how. I'm not really sure how they're related exactly, but
okay.
Here we go.
Sackville Bagginses are Bilbo's cousins.
Okay.
Lotho and I can't remember the woman's name. But
Ophelia or something?
Huh?
Ophelia or Rebelia? It's something.
I can't remember her name. She redeems herself at the end of Lord of the Rings, but before this all happened, she did try to steal silverware from Bilbo's house at a party.
Yeah. So he's hiding all that stuff, and this is where he starts to talk about
Lobella.
That's
her name.
So he starts reminiscing, flashes back 60 years earlier. Young Bilbo sits on his porch. Gandalf comes up. He does Blake's little shtick from the beginning of the show. He tries to convince Bilbo to go on a grand adventure because he remembers when Bilbo was a young boy and he was always running around pretending to fight dragons and find elves. And I don't know what the hell happened to you. You grew up, you son of a bitch. Yeah. And Bilbo says, no, I'm not going to do any of that. He goes back inside. Gandalf scratches a rune on Bilbo's door and leaves. So that evening, here come the dwarves. One at a time. We get Dwalin, Balin, Feely Keely, Bifer, Boffer, Bomber, Oin Gloin, Nori Dori Ori, Gandalf, and then Thorin all show up. And I guess we can unload on the dwarves here, John.
Oh, they look like a bunch of morons. And there's no like consistency. There's like two normal looking dudes. And then there's like some like monstrous looking characters.
Hold on. Wait. if I put 13 normal people in front of everybody's gonna look different.
Oh, come on.
Okay, let's run down. We're gonna go in order that they show up. Okay, Dwalin's the first one in.
Yeah, badass.
He's 6 feet tall.
He's a big dwarf. They have big dwarves.
So
I think he looks silly. I don't like his hair situation.
Oh my god, he's like the most badass one.
Okay, actions, yes, he's the warrior of the group. He's the bruiser. He's the berserker.
He looks like one.
His head's enormous. That wasn't his real head. It couldn't have been.
I'm sure there's like a
wig too
with
big.
A bald cap on there.
Yeah, they put a wig on him and they put a bald cap on the wig.
Like, okay, they're a totally different race. They don't have the same proportions as people.
Some of them do.
That's like saying, oh, did you see the feet on that hobbit? They were way out of proportion.
No, it's not.
Okay,
hobbits all have big feet. Like, I get that, but like, these characters are so exaggerated. I don't know. And then you have like Keely, because he's got to be a romantic interest to a dwarf. He's like just a handsome dude.
That was a little weird. I'll give you that one.
And it's because his one of his parents was an elf, right?
I don't remember.
I want to say there was something like that.
I don't think.
Which is why he's a beautiful dwarf.
Well, no, because Keely's his brother.
Yeah. Well, so he's semi-normal too. Yeah,
but he's got that big honker too, though.
He does. Yeah, he's got the honker.
Not as big as Balin's honker.
No.
Anyway, let's go ahead and say the two best looking dwarves are Feely and Keely, though, and Thorin. Thorin's
the handsomest ones, the most fuckable of the three. Okay, dwarves. Yes,
the ones to me that look the most dwarfish are the number one is Gloin.
Gloin, absolutely, because they had to make sure he looked like Gimli.
Yeah,
and they did a good job with Gloin.
I would say Dory. Looks dwarfish. He's just, the gray hair. He's got the fat little nose.
Wait, that's Dory?
The one with the white hair that offers Gandalf the chamomile tea.
I thought that was Balin.
No, Balin is the Santa Claus looking one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
Balin's the second one that comes in, and he's Dwalin's brother.
Yeah, he's Dwalin's brother. Yeah.
I think Balin
he's the voice of reason of the dwarves.
Yeah, I like
Balin. Yeah, I like Balin. Feely and Keely aren't dwarves. I'm sorry.
Nori, and Ori.
Nori, Dory, and Ori. Okay, like as I already said, Dory passes the checklist.
His hair is too elaborate for me. His like whole, it's like all his facial hair and his head hair are all like braided together. I'm like, how much time is he spending on this hair?
You do it once and you leave it.
Yeah.
You can't keep it that looking that fresh like out in the wilderness.
His dwarf hair is different.
My two problem dwarves are Nori and Ori. And here's the reasons why.
Okay.
Nori is just he was the last one they designed. I guarantee it. He's got the fucking Dennis Hopper, King Koopa hairdo.
Right.
And he doesn't do anything.
No.
He doesn't do anything special ever in the whole trilogy. He's just the background filler. We needed a 13th dwarf.
Mm-hmm.
Ori, I am not down with fucking Simple Jack, Dennis the Menace dwarf.
Agreed. He looks.
They gave him the Simple Jack haircut. I already hate him. And he's got a fucking. He fights with a slingshot. For God's sake.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give you the slingshot.
He wears like one of those sleep sacks that you put a baby in. I fucking hate him.
It's bad. It's real dumb.
And like he's got the bowl cut, but he has like sort of braids where they're like kind of half-assed done.
Right.
Like they don't. There's just one on one side, and there's one kind of cocked on the other side, not really lining up right. He's the worst one of the group. I'm sorry.
Well, he and Bomber to me are on equal footing. I think Bomber looks like ridiculous.
Bomber's silly, but I personally like Bomber as a character. But
Bomber is the way he's supposed to be, though.
I don't even understand what's going on. He's got like a what is this big?
It's a loop mustache. It comes out one nostril and goes into the other one.
It's like this gigantic braid that like hangs in a loop under his head. I don't understand what's happening. And he's got the weirdest bald head. Like he's doing the friar tuck thing.
The friar tuck, yeah.
Bomber is exactly the way he should be.
I didn't have this for Bomber. Biffer and Boffer. Biffer's the one that can only speak the dwarf language because he's got an axe stuck in his brain.
Which that is one of the big problems I have in the movie. Because that's a total fabrication that they made for the film. And it's just so they could say, okay, at least we don't have to write speaking parts for him.
They gave him a thing, and they don't have to write him any dialogue.
We already have Nori that's not going to do anything. We can't have two dwarfs that don't do anything.
Right.
People are going to question that.
Yeah. So that I didn't like that.
And Boffer is the one with the hat from The Thing.
Right.
If only. I wish it was that dumb hat. It is a totally different dumb hat. He doesn't look like a dwarf. You think
Kurt Russell's hat from The Thing was ridiculous? Step aside. I'll show you a ridiculous hat. Yeah, and then Thorin is he's
cool
pretty normal.
He's a man.
I guess he's fat. Yeah.
Yeah, he's fucking Thorin.
But I mean, isn't like the beard like a point of like pride for a dwarf?
Yeah.
Some of them don't even fucking have beards.
Yeah. So okay.
This is gonna be a 3-hour episode.
It is.
We're 40 minutes in. We're not even out of bag in yet.
Then I'm gonna shut up. Go on.
Can you not do it in a yes or no answer? Shouldn't they have big beards, all of them?
No.
No. That raises more questions than answers. Well, I guess everything that all fantasy has taught me about dwarves is wrong.
Why? All dwarves have to have beards?
Yeah, that's the thing. John.
I mean, you look at every single... So you mean to tell
me there's like...
You look at every single
one of them can't just say, I don't want a beard.
Every statue in Erebor, every one of those gigantic statues they had in there, all of them motherfuckers had beards on.
Yeah, look in the front of Ironforge there.
That's the most common thing, but that doesn't mean they all have to be that way.
Come on.
Anyway.
Whatever. Anyway, they've got a plan. They're going back to Erebor to kill Smaug and take back the kingdom. None of the other dwarf clans want to join them, so they've got 13 people to do this, and that's not a good number, so they would need to hire a 14, so they're looking for a burglar. So they present Bilbo with the chance, and he passes out. He doesn't want to do it. He goes to bed. Thorin sings a sad song, and they leave.
I like the sad song.
I was about to say, I hear everybody talking about. Apparently, there's a song that this chick sings about a driver's license or something right now, and everybody talks about the emotion of this song. What? Apparently, they've never watched The Hobbit and heard these bastards sing about their lost home. Because if that don't hit you in the feels, you don't have a soul.
Okay. This is one of the parts that I liked, because I liked how they included the songs.
Yeah.
When they first said they're doing The Hobbit, I said, how the hell are they going to do the songs? Because you can't do The Hobbit without doing the songs. It goes hand in fucking hand.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that they worked them in, in a way that worked.
Yeah.
They sing the Lonely Mountain song. They do the Plates song.
Yes.
And
I didn't like the Plates song.
Then let's move on, because I'll spend 25 fucking minutes on the plate song, so let's just keep going.
Look. Rankin and Bass Hobbit, it holds a special place in my heart. That's how I was introduced to all of Tolkiendom, was through that fucking cartoon. So anything in there, I'm down with as an animation. So I appreciated that they kept some of that stuff. I appreciated they kept, sort of the Goblin Town song. Because that's my favorite song in the whole thing. Down, down to Goblin Town.
Yeah.
Yo ho, my lad. That's the best song. I like that song.
Right.
So I thought it was cool that they gave the Goblin King that song a little bit.
Yeah.
In a way.
Well, they're not trying to make a musical, too. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that was my thought. They can't make it a silly musical. They got to do it real. And they did it, so I appreciated that.
Yeah, they included it. So, yeah.
I digress.
I probably wouldn't have had a problem with that song in a movie with a more consistent tone. Because the movie vacillates between a fucking orc tearing off the dwarf king's head, and then having a silly song where they're cleaning Bilbo's plates. It's I don't know.
Moving on. So they leave after Thorin sings a sad song, and Bilbo gets up the next morning and he's like, damn, I'm boring. And he decides, I'm going to go on the adventure. And he signs the contract, and he goes running out to meet him and joins up at the party. So after traveling a few days, some of the ponies go missing one night. And so Bilbo, Fili, and Kili go searching for them, and they find the famous trolls.
Mm-hmm. The trolls have names, but I forget them. I think one of them's name's Tom, but I can't remember the other ones.
Yeah, it's Bob as well.
Harry, maybe?
Al.
Yeah,
they have names.
Yeah. I just happened to be reading The Hobbit to my kids at the time of this recording, so some of the stuff is pretty fresh from the book.
Yeah. I like the troll sequence.
Yeah.
It's mostly fine. I think it kind of goes on too long. With everything, is if there's a tiny bit of action in the book, it's got to be drawn out to a 20-minute action thrilling. Well,
like I said, scene. They got that New Line Cinema guy off stage just doing that hand gesture. Pull for time. Yeah. Stretch.
They also have to make up for the time that they don't want to show of them just wandering.
Yes.
So
that shot right after they leave Bag-In, and it's that that Lord of the Rings shot from the helicopter where they're spinning around them in the field in a line. Yeah. That would be 90% of the movie if they were stuck to the pages of the book.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I'll say some of the attempts at comedy and stuff feel out of place just because it's Tolkien's sense of humor is much like more clever and like fun, and like Peter Jackson's sense of humor is like slapstick and like goofball shit, like Three Stooges. It's like farts and burps and crap like that. Yeah, so I just like don't like that stuff when like, oh, Bilbo's next to the troll's butt.
I'll give you that.
Like,
I'll give you that. But however, I do like whenever he's explaining to the trolls why they can't eat the dwarves, and he's like, they got worms.
They got worms in their tubes.
And then the dwarves are like yelling at him, like, and then finally they get it. It's like, oh yeah, filled with worms.
Yeah, no, that stuff's fine. That stuff's fine.
Yeah,
and I want to say, like, I like Martin Freeman a lot as Bilbo. I think he's really good.
Yes.
Yeah,
and Peter Jackson knew from the jump he wanted Martin Freeman for Bilbo.
Yeah,
so much so
choice.
that he rearranged the filming schedule just so that he could do it and not have conflicts with Sherlock.
Well, perfect, because he is Bilbo.
Mm-hmm.
The other ones they were considering were Radcliffe.
No.
James McAvoy. I forget who else. There was somebody else that wouldn't have worked.
McAvoy's good, but he ain't Bilbo.
LaBeef.
Oh God!
Oh my God! Like I actually kind of like Shia LaBeouf.
My stomach just hurt when you said that.
But no.
I think McAvoy could have pulled it off. They had to.
Probably,
He's
but like
good.
this is Martin Freeman's thing. Like, he basically already played Bilbo when he was in Hitchhiker's Guide. I mean, like, it's
that
like
is,
the put upon, guy that just wants to fucking go home and chill. Like, it's perfect.
I think Martin Freeman does Befuddled better than McAvoy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, yeah, they decide to send Bilbo in to try to free the ponies because nobody notices hobbits. They send him in, slapsticky butt stuff, snot, that kind of stuff happens.
The snot, jeez.
One of the trolls thinks that he blew him out of his nose because he accidentally grabs him when he reaches for his handkerchief and blows his nose all over Bilbo. And so they're wondering what Bilbo is, and then the dwarves come out and attack. They're hacking and chopping at these trolls, and it doesn't seem to really do anything. They all grab onto Bilbo, and they're going to rip him to pieces, so all the dwarves have to throw down their arms. They put them all in sacks. So when Bilbo stalls for time with they're infected, and you don't know how to cook them, and eventually sun comes up, Gandalf shows up, breaks a rock, stones are dead. Trolls are dead. Stone.
Yeah.
Trolls are stone.
Yeah. So, kill the trolls. They said, well, there's got to be a troll horde somewhere. They look around. They find the troll horde. They go in. There's a bunch of treasure. They say, well, we're going to bury this and come back and get it later. They find some elvish weapons, and Gandalf takes one, and Thorin takes one, and everybody else gets fuck all.
Well, Bilbo gets
they find these two awesome swords, and Thorin's about to throw his away. He's like, don't you throw that away, that's a good sword. And then Gandalf's like, I'm keeping this other one for my fucking self. And he just walks off. And fuck these dwarves.
He wouldn't have been able to. I mean, that sword, not ideal for dwarves, I don't think.
Yeah.
Was it Glamdring?
Well, Dwalin could have wielded it because he's 8 feet tall, but
Yeah. It is Glamdring, yes. The faux hammer.
Yeah.
There's like the way the hilt or the way the scabbard's designed on what's that other one?
Orcrist.
Like he pulls it out of the scabbard and like would have sliced his hand all up. Did you see that? It's like the way he was holding it.
I'm sure Blake's gonna have words, but I didn't like that sword.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't have words.
It looked like a big butter knife.
Okay.
I didn't know if there was some like elf thing that's how the elves made their swords or something.
If they described the way that sword looked, I missed it. So right. I think it was all up into interpretation.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, just design wise, like it didn't seem to fit with the other elf-made weapons.
I was, now that I'm thinking about it, it did seem kind of wide.
Yeah.
To be a elvish sword. Didn't look too nimble.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, okay, yeah, I'll give you that one.
And you touched on something else. That was another thing. I didn't like the dwarf swords because they looked like the goddamn Buster swords.
Just like miniaturized Buster swords.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I know they're trying to show like they have bigger, thicker weapons and all that, but they should have all had axes.
Yeah. Oh, so dwarves having axes is a thing, but having beards aren't a thing.
No. So there's certain things. Okay, you join the U.S. Army, you're going to learn how to shoot a
beard.
Exactly. You learn how to shoot a gun. When you learn how to fight as a dwarf, you learn how to use an axe. You learn as an elf, you're going to learn how to shoot a bow and arrow. That's all it is.
Okay. Yeah. Sure.
What do you learn as a hobbit? Well, you don't really have to learn because it's like an innate ability. But what are they proficient with?
Food.
Smoking pipes.
Rocks, man. They can throw rocks better than anybody.
Okay. I thought it was the pipe thing, but
no, man. Throwing rocks.
That was the smoking of pipe weed.
You don't want a hobbit to throw a rock at you.
The brewing of ales and the smoking of pipe weed.
I don't particularly want anybody throwing a rock in here.
And while we're talking about the pipe weed thing, I really don't like how they try to say that they're smoking like marijuana. Because that ain't the case.
It's tobacco.
It's tobacco. Like, it's stated explicitly that that's what they're doing.
Nah, all the wizards.
Radagast goes
Gandalf,
full Steven Seagal when he smokes that pipe.
Oh, I know.
Gandalf is smoking the stickiest of Icky.
Yeah.
Radagast does mushrooms, apparently.
I'll call him Gandank.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Saruman,
I don't like how they've done that.
Saruman likes to get wet. That P to the C to the P.
Anyway, just a little peeve of mine because that's not what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's a common peeve. I mean,
yeah,
they do it all throughout Lord of the Rings too. It's just like
exactly
smoking that pipe weed.
Which they do call it that, but they as everybody knows, Lord of the Rings is a very detailed book. They talk about the region where the tobacco is grown and why it's superior because of the fucking rocks and tannins that it's getting and shit.
But they call it pipe weed.
Yeah.
So when they were doing the screenplay for this, they're like, it says weed.
Yeah, exactly.
Can you even believe that it says weed?
Yeah, I know.
And that's all she wrote.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord. So, after all that shit, to get the ponies back, they still wind up running the fuck off. And now they got no ponies. So, Radagast shows up and tells them that there's a sickness in the forest. And he says, I went on down to Dol Guldur, and I fought the Witch King of Angmar, because he's around now. And there's a necromancer there, and it's probably Sauron.
Yeah.
This is another thing.
I'm not into Radagast, yo. Motherfucker's got shit all over his face.
Filthy bastard. It's probably riddled with ringworm.
I think they went a little overboard with Radagast.
It's like
he's just a homeless guy.
Crazy tooth. Bird dookie on his face.
He's supposed to be in tune with nature, not a fucking psychopath in the woods.
Does he have like a bunny drawn sled in the book somewhere?
It's been a while since I read it. I don't think, but I liked it.
I didn't mind it.
I did not. That's silly to me.
I didn't mind it.
Oh, I like that.
They have giant wolves. They can have giant rabbits. Giant wolves got to eat.
Oh, wait. Don't get me started on the wolves. We'll wait till we get there.
So yeah, I did not like the whole Sauron thing, because it's like, if they all knew Sauron was back, what was the big surprise in Fellowship?
Okay. Oh God. So he didn't have physical form. Yeah, they knew he's around, but they know they can't kill him because he is Sauron. So I mean, like, you can't really kill him. You just keep him from taking form. They thought that he was banished to the void, but now, so when they find out in Dol Guldur that he's there, but he hadn't taken form yet, he's still not a huge threat because he doesn't have the ring. So when Galadriel sends him back to Mordor, it's still like he isn't at full power, but now they know that he is a threat. That's why, in the meantime, Saruman was building his own army and hoping to go against that army while it was weakened, and you have Lord of the Rings.
I just think it's odd that they find out Sauron's back, and Bilbo finds a magic ring in a hole the same afternoon, and nobody draws a line there.
The Middle Earth is filled with magic rings. Even Gandalf says that.
Was there no scripture written about the one ring that it turns you invisible when you put it on? Nobody ever jotted that down?
Galadriel says it at the beginning of the Lord of the Rings movie. Some things that were never, what is it? That should never have been forgotten were lost and became legend and then forgotten. And that's the one ring.
I guess it depends on the type of magic.
It seems like it's more likely that Bilbo just, he like Tolkien needed to write something in there to give Bilbo an advantage, so he gave him a magic ring, and then later on decided that it should be this super special ring. And
plus the ring was missing. The ring did not have an owner for 5,000 years
until Gollum got it.
Exactly. Well,
no,
Beagle
until
got it then.
Yeah.
But yeah, it sat at the bottom of that river for 5,000 years. So you tell me about somebody's ring from 5,000 years ago.
Seems like a kind of important ring.
In Middle Earth, there's so much shit going on. I mean, look.
Place is fucking lousy with rings.
Look.
She says things that should have never been forgotten were. There it is. It's explained. Done.
Fine.
But anyway, back to Chase's point. Yeah, this B plot about Sauron seems unnecessary. This seems like padding.
And yet another thing that we have to tie, Sauron has to be in The Hobbit. He has to be.
Well, they talk about the necromancer in the Hobbit book.
Yeah, they just call him a necromancer.
Do they ever explicitly say it's Sauron, though?
No, I personally don't think that Tolkien even knew that it was Sauron at the time he wrote it.
Yes, he did. He did. He absolutely did.
Well, if he did, that was something that he kept to himself for his own thing. There was nothing really alluding to that in the book.
It's spelled out in the Silmarillion that was written long before The Hobbit, that he became the necromancer.
Okay, when was Silmarillion published?
It was published in the 70s, but it was written in the 40s.
I'm talking about when it was written. When it was published.
30s or 40s.
Was it after Hobbit?
Before. But it didn't get published until after Hobbit and Lord of the Rings were established, but he had written it long before.
Okay.
This was a boring subplot. It shouldn't have been in the movie.
Well, I'm fine with it because it's okay. I mean, he's a necromancer. And Sauron had many names throughout history. Necromancer just being one of them.
Well, again, like you said,
that's like him taking the name Farmer.
No.
There's other necromancers. Saruman even says it. He's just it's a human that's dabbling dark magic. It's a necromancer. That's what a necromancer is.
Well, he was wrong. I mean, people could be wrong.
He took the name necromancer.
He was wrong. Plus, he had his own motives. Anyway,
it didn't need to be in this movie.
So Radagast tells him that whole story. The orcs show up, And Radagast says, I'll get on my rabbit sled and I'll lead them on a merry chase while you guys escape. But I'm going to make sure to lead them back to you about 8 times.
Yeah.
Because I'm a crazy old man.
Rabbits are hard to control.
So they're in this field of rocks, dipping between the rocks while Radagast zigzags across the path they're trying to take, like constantly putting them in danger, until they see him and they're like, oh, there's the dwarves. Fuck this old man. Go after him. Gandalf finds a hole in the middle of a field that you can see around this field for miles. It's just a big field. He finds a hole. They go down the hole and they come out and they're in Rivendell.
It's a little more complicated.
I mean, not on screen, it's not. That's what happened.
They walk like 8 feet, and they're in like these cliffs and waterfalls. They were in fucking Wyoming a few minutes ago.
Before I get to that, I think the orcs in this movie looked way better than the orcs in Lord of the Rings. And I know I'll probably get shot for saying such a thing.
Which one are we talking about? Just the regular orcs, right? Not the Uruk-hai.
Orcs. I think they looked way better, and the effects that they did with their eyes at night, where their eyes would glow at night and everything, like an animal. Like, I thought they looked way better.
Clear this up for me. Orcs and goblins.
One and the same.
But one can move in the day and one can't?
Orcs and goblins.
Goblins are clearly smaller.
It's kind of like...
goblins can't move in the day. Orcs can.
And you could say goblins would just be kind of weaker, but even that's still kind of like a toss-up. It hadn't really been settled. But both orcs and goblins have problems in daylight. But
Saruman crossbreeds them to make a super orc.
Uruk-hai are different. Sunlight doesn't affect an Uruk-hai, but sunlight does affect goblins and orcs. But it affects some... it's like they can kind of build a resistance to it over time, too. So there's some tougher orcs that can stand sunlight for a little while, and they're fine. Like, they can stay out all day, but they're just in a weakened state, you could say. But they can make it. But then if you're like a subterranean goblin, you go out in the day, it's going to be a problem.
Because he was something that I was constantly, like, in the Lord of the Rings, I was confused with what I was looking at half the time. Because I thought goblins were in Moria because they're climbing on the walls like spiders and shit.
They're one and the same. Like, actually, the terms used interchangeably in the books.
Okay.
But it's describing the same thing.
Okay.
But in these movies, they're distinctly different. I mean, visually. And
I think that's to get around having to try to explain what I'm fumblingly trying to explain.
Goblin's the slang for orc.
Just doing something different so you don't have to explain it.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, it's never explicitly said what the difference is. You can just kind of infer what the differences are. Yeah. But they use the term interchangeably.
All right. So, if they're born out of the mud, how do you crossbreed them?
Orcs aren't born out of the mud.
The Uruk-hai were.
But that's totally different.
Jesus Christ.
Look.
Gandalf says Saruman is crossing orcs with goblin men to breed an army.
It's way more complicated than that.
I'm visualizing the big fuck pile from South Park.
It's close, but no. It's way different than that, and if you want, we can make a bonus episode all about the reproduction of orcs.
Right.
We don't have time for that.
Back in the pile, boys. So, they fall down a hole, they come out Rivendell. So, Thorin's pissed because, like, this was your plan all along, goddammit, Gandalf. And Gandalf's like, whatever. So he drags them into Rivendell because they got this map and it's got runes on it that they can't read. They don't know what the hell it's talking about, and they need Elrond to help them out. So Elrond shows up, and
this is a pretty dumb conflict, I think. I mean, again, just reading the book now, there's no mention of Thorin not liking elves. I mean, maybe in some other book, but not in The Hobbit. They just go to Rivendell.
Yeah, there was no problem with Elrond and the dwarves.
Yeah,
he's like,
none.
But
there's shit on here we can't read. We got to go to Elrond.
Yeah, but even if they have this map that, like, you know, even if he's got a problem with the elves, you got this map that's completely useless to you unless it's someone can read it. So, like, just let the fucker read it, dude.
That's basically what Gandalf says to him, is let the fucker read it.
It just makes Thorin seem kind of, I don't know, like...
Petty?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
You see, Thorin, the problem came when I tried to classify your species. You're not actually dwarves.
Oh, God.
Anyway. Elrond finds the moon runes. He puts it on the big light table. And, you know, God willing, it's the same frickin' kind of moon in the sky that one night as this was written decades ago.
Yeah, what are the odds?
Mm-hmm.
So it lights up.
Good thing y'all found that hole today instead of yesterday.
Right. So what do you know?
So they light it up. Be sure to drink your Ovaltine. They got the information they need.
A crummy commercial.
So, okay, they know what they're doing. They know where they're going. By the way, Galadriel's here. Oh, and Saruman's here, too. Let's get distracted by this Sauron crap for a while in a bunch of scenes that I might have fast-forwarded through.
I think this is what John was saying, how is like they had to tie in Lord of the Rings instead of, I forget the way you worded it. Like, it's supposed to be a prequel, but they're treating it as if it's only to explain a sequel.
Yeah. Well, it's just uninteresting because they're trying to build a mystery, but we already know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, we know the answer. The only interesting thing about that is when they have the Morgul blade and Saruman kind of gives it the side eye, like, oh, okay, like it starts ticking for him. But you don't need 25 minutes for that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is this whole. I think I checked the time because this Rivendell segment is like 20 minutes of B plot stuff.
Yeah,
it's long.
It's just, and it only serves to say, like, it's only for the Lord of the Rings and to show the White Council, basically. That's all it is.
Yeah, they show them, they talk for a while, and then Gandalf and Galadriel have their own little sidebar where they go off, and Gandalf stands dangerously close to the edge of a cliff. It's like, dude, take a step back. You got the same view. Him and Galadriel talk. She's like, I like you, Gandalf. I'll kill you last or something. I don't know. I didn't pay attention to it.
That was it. That was exactly it.
So the dwarves leave because they know what they're doing now. They climb a mountain and they get caught up in a battle between three stone giants.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like this, but it wasn't necessary, if that makes sense.
Yes. I mean, you know, I understand where you're coming from. Like, as a big Lord of the Rings fan, seeing anything that they got put on film is cool. But, like, yeah, for the movie, like, this is just...
You didn't need it.
It didn't need it. Yeah. It's just it's the first of, like, 3 big, dumb, like, action set pieces with cartoon physics. That, like, are supposed to be thrilling or whatever, but there's no ever any real danger to anybody. Like, everyone's completely invulnerable to being hurt.
There's 14 of the bastards. You don't lose a single one in this whole ordeal.
No one even ever gets hurt. Like, it's...
Yeah. And as a good comparison, when the Fellowship's trying to go over the mountain pass and the storm's too much for them and everything, I felt they were more in danger than these dwarves were when mountains came alive and started throwing rocks at them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
You also, I feel like, cared about the characters more by that point in that movie. Mm-hmm. Like they're distinct and interesting, each one.
It's hard to care for a rabble of 13 people.
Yes.
13 randomly generated characters.
Then again, the Fellowship was what, 11?
9.
1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, okay. All right, that checks out.
But they all had. You understood each one of them.
Yeah, and they were different too.
Yes.
They didn't have names like Oridori and Nori.
Yeah, Bingo, Bongo, and Boingo.
Yeah.
Oh man.
So, and how is nobody okay? Somebody, I forget which one it was, says, so the legends are true. The stone giants. Nobody's seen one of these fuckers before?
I don't know.
They're just having a fucking dust up in the middle of the... Jesus Christ, no one...
It's like a Bigfoot sighting. They're gonna go back to Bree and tell that story at the Prancing Pony. Like, get the fuck out of here! You didn't see a rock giant.
Don't you shoot that rock giant? You tried for murder. So they escape with a rock giant fight because all the rock giants kill each other, I guess.
Well, they just were done.
Forget you, and they went back to their porches.
Well, I didn't even understand. Like, what the rock giants are the mountain, and then somehow one of them like falls down a crevasse. Like I was like, what? Don't you make up the crevasse? I don't know. Whatever. It was weird.
Yeah.
So after that ordeal, they're a little tired. They find a cave. They go to sleep. Bilbo says, "You know what? Well, Thorin is like this hobbit is more trouble than he's worth on the mountain during the stone giant fight."
I mean, all he did was like slip while the giants were fighting. I'm like, Thorin, like, relax, bro. This could have happened to anybody.
Exactly.
So Bilbo says, "Fine, I'm going to go back home." He starts to leave, and Biffer stops him, or Boffer, one of them. The hat one stops him, and tells him and Frodo's all like, you don't know what it's like. You're a homeless old dwarf. Fuck you. And Biffer's like, I wish you all the luck in the world, Bilbo Baggins.
See, he tells him, you don't know what it's like to be away from home.
Yeah.
And of course that hits the dwarf in the feels. But I did kind of like it was kind of like a backhanded fuck you, like, even though it wasn't meant to be, I read it as good luck out there, Chief.
Yeah. Have fun walking back through all that shit we just went through by yourself. With your goddamn handkerchief.
Yeah, even though he was sincere when he said it, I like to think he was like, get your little ass out of here.
So right as Bilbo starts to leave, they notice Sting is starting to glow. Oh yeah, Gandalf found Sting in the troll cave 1,000,000 years ago.
Yeah.
So the floor hinges open because it's trapdoors.
Yep.
That the goblins just hope like drifters fall asleep in there.
See, again, like, just unnecessary, over the top stuff. Like in the book, the goblins just come out from cracks in the walls.
Yeah,
like while they're sleeping,
like
right?
A hidden crack or something.
They don't have to fall down this like cartoon slide of whatever. It's too much.
So they get captured by the goblins, and the goblins haul them all away, except for Bilbo, because again he's a hobbit. Nobody notices hobbits. He tries to sneak behind them, but one goblin's like straggling behind and fights him, and they both fall off the cliff and fall down a hole. Dwarves get brought to the Goblin King, and he's a big fat goblin with a big goiter.
He's disgusting.
So he knows Azog, and he's going to sell out Thorin to Azog because he knows that he's looking for him. So he sends this little tiny goblin on a zip line down somewhere to send a message in the mail, I guess. I don't know how the fuck this works.
Get this in the post.
So they notice that the dwarves have those two. Thorin has that famous sword, so he's like, "Fuck this guy! Get all the torture shit out." So they start wheeling out the torture stuff. We zip back to Bilbo, and he lands down in Gollum's cave, and the whole Gollum thing that we all know, arguably the most famous part of the book, plays out. Bilbo meets Gollum. Gollum, again, he still looks great. Probably even better than he did in Lord of the Rings.
I would say so.
Yeah, for sure. It's good. This scene's good.
Yeah. This was the first scene they filmed.
Oh, really?
This was the first scene they filmed. It was Martin Freeman's first shot at Frodo, and they filmed this scene in its entirety every take.
Oh, wow.
They treated it like a stage play.
Interesting.
To help,
that seems weird.
To help Martin Freeman get in the role of Bilbo and really be able to explore it. They shot the whole thing, beginning to end, from all the different angles, over and over and over again.
Boy, poor Andy's back must have been killing him at the end of that thing.
His voice.
The only thing that I'll say that I wish was maybe a bit different was, and I don't know, maybe it's just how I felt about it, but I wish they would have built the scene in a way that, like, as if we hadn't met Gollum before. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't think they introduced him as like a threat or anything, like, or they didn't make him like a special thing to Bilbo.
Here's Gollum.
Yeah, I mean, it just kind of felt like, oh shit, there's Gollum in this movie. Like, it wasn't.
Yeah, I think they were just like, everybody knows who he is, and there's no reason for us to. Which, you're right, they could have done a little something.
I think it would have been interesting. I mean, like, they made him he was probably scarier in the scene than he is in any part of Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. But I think...
But also, once again, they did the thing with the eyes, too. Like, when he was in the dark, he had the little reflection in his eyes and all, which looked really, really good.
Yeah.
And they've got him doing his split personality thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You know, maybe they didn't stick with, like, Bilbo's point of view enough. It's like they kept going off with Gollum. Like, they would show him like paddling in the water or whatever. And these like asides. If they'd stuck with Bilbo's perspective, I think it would have been. If it would have just been
he's up there chopping up the goblin, Bilbo looks away for a second, turns around, he's gone, and then we don't see him again until he's creeping around the rock.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Or even just like over his shoulder, you can kind of see him like floating around in the water or something. I don't know.
Then again, it's probably, this is what I like to think. You got Andy Serkis there. And if he says, hey, I want more camera time, what are you going to do? Tell him no and get somebody else?
I don't know. He doesn't strike me as the kind of person that would like throw his.
I don't think he would do that.
I agree, but he does have a lot of leverage there when it comes to that character.
Yeah.
And also, you know, he's second unit director.
That too.
Oh.
For the entire movie.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's gonna do his thing.
If I'm gonna destroy my vocal cords, you're gonna have me on camera.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm just nitpicking. This is good. This is the best part of the movie for sure.
Yeah. So they have the game of riddles. All the famous ones are in there. Eventually, Bilbo does the "what's in my pocket," stumps Gollum. Gollum decides to betray Bilbo. He's going to kill him anyway. Bilbo puts on the ring and escapes. Back with the dwarves. All the torture devices are there. They get ready to start torturing them. And the scuffle breaks out, but it doesn't look good. And then here comes old Gandalf again. He just explodes the goblin hole. He comes in and he's like, all right, let's kill them all. And they all get up and fight the goblins. And they go through this big, long, running sequence.
Yeah, the second fucking, like, way too long cartoon physics action sequence.
I liked half of this.
There was some Wonder Woman running in this.
Yeah, there was. But I did like some of it.
Just like the speed they're achieving on these rickety little bridges.
And when they pushed the rock ahead of them, it was like, ooh, that was a bad choice.
Yeah.
Because that didn't look good.
No. So they escape and fall down a hole. Well, first they stand off with the Goblin King, and Gandalf just kind of kills him.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a Jesus.
He doesn't really ever pose a threat.
I did like the way he died, though. Like, he gives his little speech, and he says the thing that the Goblin King says, which I can't remember now.
Well, he says he says something along the lines of what are you going to do?
Yeah.
To me. And Gandalf proceeds to poke him in the eye, slash his gut open. And then the Goblin goes,
that'll do it.
That'll do it. And then he slits his throat and he falls off the bridge.
I like that.
So they escape, they fall down, they all land, Goblin King falls on them, pratfall,
I like that too.
I did not like this. I mean,
I like that.
The it's like the piece of the whatever walkway that they're on breaks off, and it's just like sliding down deeper and deeper, and just like breaking everything, but somehow staying nice and even, so they can all stand on it just fine.
Yeah, I mean, that part makes no sense.
It's just like the physics are so. There's just no danger.
But when he fell on him, like the first time I saw it, that took me off guard when the first time that happened.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't expecting that, and that's why I like it.
I mean, just the fact that they survived this is ridiculous.
They're dwarves, man.
I honestly can't wait till we have the physics discussion in the third movie.
It's unfortunate.
So they find the way out, and Bilbo sees them all running by. He's still invisible. He's wearing the ring, and Gollum's running around, and Gollum gets between Bilbo and the exit, and Bilbo takes out Sting. He's going to kill Gollum, but he sees Gollum's sweet little face, and he decides not to go through with it. He just kind of kicks Gollum in the face and runs off.
When I watched it this last time, which I'll admit I kind of just had it on in the background because I've seen it I don't know how many damn times, but I happened to really be sitting down watching it when that part came up, and I couldn't help but think, like, you know, if Bilbo would have just cut off his head right then, they never would have known where the ring went.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that events still wouldn't have unfolded, but you would have never gotten Gollum telling the Dark Lord Shire Baggins. The riders would have never went out there, and so I wonder, you know,
who knows who would have found who.
The ring will always try to make its way back. So
yeah,
but anyway, I just, for some reason, I went down that what if hole. Like,
I would think there would be more of a chance that one of the goblins would have found it, and it would have been worked its way back to Mordor more easily.
Right. Yeah. I don't know.
Anyway, they all escape. They're out of the goblin hole, and they're standing in the opening, and Thorn's like, well, Bilbo's a little bitch, ain't he? He ain't here. And then Bilbo's like, say what? And he comes out from behind the tree.
Who's a bitch?
Which, that, like you said, that's Thorn being pretty petty, because look what, you barely made it out. and he was by himself, and you're like, huh, see, I told you so. What the fuck?
Yeah. So Bilbo shows up and he's like, look, dude, I know you don't like me, but fuck you.
Yeah.
And he tells him, I'm here for the long haul. I got a home. It's better than your home because you ain't got a home, bitch. And so he's part of the gang now. Azog shows up with all the other orcs, and they run the dwarves up the trees. And they didn't sing the bird song.
No, and also it
would have been inappropriate.
This is the scene that I think should have been longer. When they came out of the cave and all that, a whole mess of stuff happened. Where you had different tribes of goblins and the wargs all trying to find where they went. And in the books, wargs are sentient beings, much to Seagal's chagrin. They have their own language and everything. And they just kind of have a nice coexistence with orcs. But there was like packs of the wargs that are communicating with each other and trying to track down where they are and all that. And I think if they would, I wanted them to show more of how intelligent the wargs actually are. And the wargs are way better in The Hobbit than they were in Two Towers. Like, I don't know what the hell those little monsters were in Two Towers. Those weren't wargs.
They look like Stitch.
Yeah. And
I'm sorry for ruining Two Towers for anyone who hasn't made that connection, but you're not going to be able to watch it again without seeing big stitches that they're riding.
That's not what a warg is. And Hobbit nailed what a warg is.
Yeah.
These are scary looking fuckers.
Well, yeah. in the book though, like they're just wolves, right? It's not even wargs big. It's wolves that chase them up a tree.
But it's wargs.
Well, there's a Gandalf distinguishes between the wolves that are down there and what wargs are.
Does he?
I think so.
Could be.
Anyway,
wargs can talk, and they should have shown that.
Well, we're on the subject, so I'm going to broach it. I like how they handled the talking animals. It doesn't happen until the next movie.
Does it? What?
Yeah. It'd be weird if every single animal in Middle Earth could talk for no reason.
I get you.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about now. And yes, you're right.
So the wargs have them cornered. The orcs have them cornered. Gandalf mixes up some Molotov cocktails, and they start hucking those down. They set the whole forest on fire. Thorin knows this is pretty much the end, so he decides, I'm going to go one-on-one with Azog and just see what happens. He jumps down out of the tree and gets owned, like, immediately.
Yeah, but this is, like, you really get to see his shield. I love that shield that they made for this movie.
Yeah, he took that branch and turned it into an actual shield.
Yeah, they got, like, parts of metal in it and all that. And, like, oh, God, that looks so damn cool.
So my issue with this was that it came out of nowhere. Like, he hasn't had it.
He never had it till this scene.
Yeah, and then all of a sudden it's on his arm. I'm like, what? Where'd that shit come from?
Right. Yeah, because if I had that, I'd be holding it all the time.
Yeah, and you'd think when back in Bag End, when Balin is telling or wherever they had already left. They were camped out when Balin's telling Bilbo the story of Thorin when he was at the fight outside of Moria. Mm-hmm. That when he picked up the oaken branch as a shield, you'd think they would have cut to it.
Yeah.
Like sitting there next to him in the chair or something to show it that he kept it.
Yeah.
That it meant something to him.
Yeah, I wish they would have shown more of it because it was a badass prop, but you don't see it much.
Yeah. So he faces off with Azog. He gets knocked down immediately.
Right.
Azog, and then after all that, Azog just sends one of his little peons to go and kill him.
Yeah, that was kind of a weird thing. After holding this grudge for so long, he's just gonna like take care of this for me.
You didn't even get down off of your horse dog.
I think that, and see, I've thought about this a lot in the times that I've watched it, and I think that Azog was expecting more from Thorin. And whenever he didn't get what he waited all this time and he took him out easy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like he ain't even worth my time now. So just go take his head.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm getting from that.
Well, I can get that. So this other orc strolls up to Thorin. He's going to cut his head off, and then Bilbo takes up arms and tackles the orc and kills him.
Stabs the shit out of him. Jesus Christ, Bilbo.
Bilbo's got some pent-up rage.
That went from 0 to 100 real fucking quick. I mean, just starts stabbing him relentlessly.
He just had to think about them Sackville Bagginses to get him there.
That's right. Fucking, oh yeah.
Some bitch has my spoons.
Think you can touch my fucking silverware?
He would have went berserker mode on poor Gollum.
Yeah.
So Bilbo then stands off against Azog and shows his bravery.
Does better than Thorin does.
Yeah. So during all of that, Gandalf finds one of them special little moths that are all over the place, and he whispers his little sweet whispers to the moth and sends it off, and before you know it, here they come. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. The eagles swoop in, they throw all the orcs around, they pick up all the dwarves, and fly away. Bye-bye. They drop them off somewhere far away. Sun comes up, and Thorin's all, bro, my bad.
Which that was another thing. There was more to do with the eagles in the books. Like, they took them up to the top of the mountain, and they nursed them back to health and all that.
Again, that was another animal that had speech and a whole, like, thing. And
Yeah. And, like, Gandalf didn't even have anything to do with calling them, right? They just were like, yo, what's going on over there?
No, they knew because they had seen all the activity had picked up while they were looking, and so they were on lookout. And they were so close to the, goddamn, I can't remember the name of the mountains that they live in. They were close there. So that's why they were paying attention.
Yeah. How fast are moths in Middle Earth?
Too fast.
That moth was cooking.
Yeah, they use that only because they used that same vehicle in Lord of the Rings. So it was like that was. I guess they figured that'd be the only way the Eagles could show up, instead of maybe showing that the Eagles were monitoring the situation.
Yeah.
I was curious. I was like, well, I know that flies only live for like 24 hours. So how long does a moth live that it could survive this journey? Moths can live up to 10 months. So I guess you got me there.
Those slippery bastards.
These moths like relaying to other moths as they're dying.
But
I spent my entire life flying halfway across a continent to tell you that there's a bunch of hairy men that need some help in a tree way back there.
Right.
Time to die.
To me, I found this as like a big missed opportunity to explain the Eagles, since they weren't explained in Lord of the Rings.
Mm-hmm.
They could have explained, like, they could have not wasted time with, Rivendell for 25 minutes and maybe explained how the Eagles work anyway. And then they wouldn't have the confusion of why didn't they just fly to Mordor and all that shit.
Well, the Eagles can clearly go to Mordor.
They can, but that would have been the stupidest way to do it.
I don't know. The Wraiths were over in the Shire on their horses. They weren't on their dragons yet.
Okay. Hold on. God damn it.
Chase, what have you done?
So the whole idea is you want to keep the ring from Sauron, correct?
Yes.
So if you have the whole gang of eagles flying across Middle Earth, that's going to raise some flags. And so then they're just going to take the battle to the eagles. And more than likely they would have lost the ring. And it would have fallen into somebody else's hands and eventually would have ended up in Sauron's hands. So instead, it made it better Because you got to think, this is something that isn't explained like in the movies. Sauron knew that a hobbit had the ring, but he honestly thought that men would have given in to the desire of the ring. So he really thought that Aragorn and Boromir, or Boromir, was going to bring it to Gondor and try to bring the fight to them with the ring. That's what he was hoping. And that's why all his forces were going to Gondor, because he thought that they were going to try to use the ring against him there. He had it never entered his mind that a hobbit would try to bring it to Mordor on his own. So he was focusing his attention on a war, not on a covert mission. So that's why bringing the eagles in, which they would have had to come over Gondor too, they were ready for that.
You couldn't have one eagle fly him to like the suburbs of Gondor?
Okay, you fly one eagle against the 9 riders, the plethora of orcs and Uruk-hai. And
one eagle in the sky is going to raise all these red flags.
It's a giant fucking eagle.
They exist.
And it's carrying the ring.
They can't see that. It's an eagle.
But they know what they can tell when the ring's around.
When someone's wearing it.
Oh, Jesus Christ. It makes more tactical sense to not bring it up the fucking middle with the ring.
Have the eagle eat the ring. He flies over the volcano, shits in the volcano, movie over.
No. Anyway, it doesn't make it really does not make sense for the eagles to bring them, because that is what was expected. Maybe not eagles flying there, but the ring coming to that area to try to fight Mordor, or the forces of Mordor. That's what was expected. And Sauron was still thinking that Saruman was on his side. He didn't realize that Saruman was trying to double cross him until the end. So he's thinking that, they're going to try to bring this thing. They still don't know that Saruman's part of, and eventually it's all going to get ensnared together. But he didn't count on Saruman wanting the ring himself, and didn't count on a covert operation.
Well, he also didn't count on the ring being tucked up in a bird's cloaca, so...
Well, I'm just saying, it doesn't make sense.
By the way, I agree with everything Blake's saying. I'm doing this solely to aggravate it.
Yeah, I know it.
So, Thorin apologizes to Bilbo. They all hug. They see a thrush fly by, and it flies over to the mountain, and it lands, and it starts smashing snails on the wall, which is
once again, how fast does that thing fucking fly?
It's as fast as the moth flies.
If not faster.
So we go inside of Erebor to the big pile of treasure, and there's a big snort, and the treasure falls away, and you see the eye of Smaug, and the end. Till the next couple of movies. They tease Smaug at the end of this one, but he sure ain't coming until the end of the next one.
I will say, you know what? I'll say something that I really don't like about these movies. I don't like that my whole life, after reading the books and everything, in my mind, I always said Smaug. And then the movies came out and they started saying Smaug. And I retrained myself to say Smaug, but I don't like it.
Yeah. It makes more sense to be Smaug. It's a dragon.
Exactly. Because, the first time I watched a movie, they said Smaug, and I was like, have I been saying it wrong? But then I was like, well, that doesn't sound right. And then anytime I brought it up, somebody was like, it's Smaug. And I'm like, oh, yeah, fucking asshole.
It's the children who are wrong.
Well,
I'm good either way. You can call that dragon whatever the hell you want.
Well, believe me, when you get in the trenches with these fucking nerds, if you, God help you, say Smaug.
No.
And I've said a few times, before that movie came out, you were saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Well, another little tidbit. The elk that Thranduil rides was played by a horse named Moose.
What the
Interesting. I like it.
This is the future liberals want.
Of all the little like trivias I read, that was by far the most
That's
entertaining.
pretty funny.
Yeah, I like that.
Played by a moose.
I did go through the plot keywords like we typically do, and it was mostly the ones you would think for Lord of the Rings. It's just character names and creature names and things.
Right.
But there was some interesting ones. Just to name a few: male friendship,
Nice.
asexual interest.
What?
What?
Is that Gandalf and Galadriel's thing?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Asexual interest, flaming pine cone, which I can't imagine another movie sharing that.
Right.
And male hug. In case you're looking for those kind of things.
I only watch movies
This movie's
with
got it all.
male hugs.
Oh, Lord. All right. Time for a little game. So
I'm nervous about this.
I'm not because I have nothing to prove.
Yeah, this little game that I came up with for us to play tonight probably involves some forethought, given the amount of things you're going to have to come up with. But I thought it would be more funny to just throw you to the wolves.
Okay.
And just the chaos of having to do all this.
Throw us to the wargs.
Yeah,
Would
there
be
you
more
go.
appropriate.
So I think we're all familiar with the old game F, Marry, Kill, correct?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So we're going to play that with the dwarves.
Okay. Easy.
But there's 13 dwarves, so we need 13 things. So we're going to play F, Marry, Kill, Punch, Eat, Deport, Have a Meal, Have Your Back in a Fight, Open a Small Business with, Write a Letter of Recommendation to, Go on a Road Trip, Raise Your Kids, and Do a Podcast with.
Got it. I think I got it.
Okay. Oh my god. How am I going to remember all the options?
Okay, for the sake of sanity, I'm just going to run down the list, and everyone's going to do their dwarf.
Yeah.
So, I hope you have all the dwarfs in your mind, because you're going to have to sort them all on the fly.
Oh, dude, I can. I have learned to recite those names by order of appearance. Like, I got it. I can fly through them anytime.
So we're gonna start with the granddaddy, the F.
Okay, Thorin.
I'm not gonna say it because I'm trying to class up this pig hospital.
Yeah.
Thorin is what Blake's picking.
Yep.
John.
Ooh. I mean, I feel like Keeley is the obvious choice, but I gotta go Keeley.
I went the obvious choice with Keeley too. Let's get that one out of the way. He's probably the least grossest of all of them.
Yeah. He's handsome, but he's a little bit rugged,
Yeah. Mary.
Keeley.
Ooh. Oh. I forgot about. I guess Thorin.
I also married Thorin.
Marry up, baby.
Yeah.
Be the king.
Exactly. He's gonna king. Kill.
Gloin. Because we all know the best part of Gloin is his son Gimli.
Kill?
Kill.
I gotta go Ori. Fuck that guy.
I went Nori because he's pointless. So just get him out of here.
Okay.
I wanted to go that route though, John. I really did. Okay. Punch.
Punch, I'm gonna say... Hold on. Boffer is the one... Is Hat, or is he Axe?
Hat.
Boffer's the hat.
Okay, yeah, Boffer.
Punch Boffer. John?
Who's the deaf one?
That's
Oin.
Yeah, Oin.
I'll punch Oin.
We didn't even touch on Oin's little shtick with his hearing horn the whole goddamn movie. I'm going to punch Ori. I wanted to kill Ori, but I think he just needs a good pop. Eat. Who are you gonna eat?
Bomber.
You gotta go Bomber.
You gotta go start my Bomber. It's just all fat.
Yeah, but you get more bang for your buck with that one.
Yeah, absolutely.
You gotta eat Feely. That's nice, good lean meat. Who are you gonna deport back to Dwarf Town?
Oin.
Ooh, I'm Boffer.
But I deported Bifford. He don't even speak American. That's a joke. I feel bad that I had to clarify that. That's a joke, everybody. Who are you gonna sit down and have a meal with?
Feely.
I gotta go. My boy Ballin.
I said Bomber.
You wouldn't get it.
No discussion. All business. All the good food.
That'd be gross, man. I feel like just chilling with Ballin, having a meal. He'd probably have a bunch of good stories and stuff.
Yeah, you might want to save Ballin for a later one. Yeah. Next one. Have your back in a fight.
Dwalin.
I mean, I didn't know that Dwalin's supposed to be the bruiser before, but now that I know that, sounds like Dwalin.
Yeah.
Yeah, I also went with Dwalin. He's the obvious choice. He's 12 feet tall.
He's grown like 6 feet throughout the course of this podcast.
Open a small business with.
Dory. For no reason.
For no reason at all.
I think I've used up Feely. I don't think I've used Feely yet.
See, this is the one that I used Ballin on.
That makes sense. He is the wisest one, right?
He's the wisest one. He's the smartest one. Write a letter of recommendation for you.
Ori. You want to know why? It's a very good reason. So, after the events of Lord of the Rings, after the events of The Hobbit, Balin went back to the mines of Moria and actually started to take it back.
Yeah.
And Ori was writing down the history of everything that was going on. And in Lord of the Rings, the tomb that they go in is Balin's tomb.
It's Balin's tomb. So that book that they find is Ori's book. That's
Ori holding the book. He's the one that was writing everything.
So his ability to write is all.
It's a letter of recommendation.
Which ones?
Oh, and he wrote in all this drums in the deep. They're just this fucking goblins here. Why are we here? Right?
You don't know what was on the pages before that. Anyway, he's shown out of all of them the ability to write. I don't know if any of them can.
Fair enough. Sorry, Biffer is the one that doesn't speak English, right? And then
yes.
Which one's Oin?
Oin's the one with the hearing horn.
Oh, okay.
You already punched him.
Gloin. I'll pick Gloin for the...
Gloin. I also picked Gloin for no real reason at all. Go on a road trip with.
Nori.
Which is basically just do the movie with.
Nori, for no reason at all.
I think Dory seemed like a nice, chill character.
Right. I picked Boffer just because, I don't know, he seems like he'd be okay to talk to. He's sincere, at least. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I remember the last couple things you said in the list, and I was saving these two for it. So that's the only reason I picked it.
Yeah, because here's the big one. Yeah. Have raised your kids.
Balin.
Damn. Well, I'm left. I don't even know who is left now. Biffer, the non-English speaking one, is the only one I got left.
I chose Dory. I mean, he's already raising Simple Jack over there.
Yeah. I figured Balin would, impart a lot of wisdom to my children.
Yeah. And finally, do a podcast with.
Yeah,
who's the one everyone has left that they didn't use?
That was the one I was saving. It was Biffer. Just so he can grumble in Dwarvish to me.
I don't know who
did you use, John?
I don't know. Ori.
Did you use Bomber?
He used Bomber for who he would eat.
Yeah. I don't know who's left. I don't have my list.
Did you use Boffer?
I
don't remember you using
maybe
Boffer.
I didn't use Boffer.
Let's just say you didn't.
I think you're doing the podcast with Boffer. I'm doing a podcast with Oin again because he was the last one.
Anybody know the order in which they show up at Bilbo's door?
I thought I said it when I introduced them.
No, you didn't. You were off.
I do to a point. So at one point they just all fall in.
Yeah, like I said, I've just memorized
they do a Gilligan's Island with it, and the rest.
Oh, so Blake, here I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, and this is events in the second movie. So when they go and meet Bjorn,
yes,
Gandalf has this whole plan about how they'll show up staggered.
Yes.
Do you think that's what he's doing here to Bilbo, or is it just a coincidence?
They showed up staggered to Bilbo's house, but not for that reason. So he did it like the way they arrived in the movie is how they arrived in the book as well. So I guess maybe I was wishing they would have done the arrival how they did with Beorn, but they didn't.
Yeah,
they went for the action sequence, which okay, I get. But it had there was a certain charm to how they came in the books.
Yeah, I agree.
It was just to not upset him,
and
then like more people showing up, and he's like, "I thought you said that's all you had," and then then another one comes. I really like that. So I think I was waiting for the next movie, but yeah, I thought that was another missed opportunity to do something kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do you ever see him in his bear form before the Battle of the Five Armies?
In the movies or in the book?
In the book.
I don't think so.
Yeah, that's why.
I'm wrong, but I don't think
they needed to show him in the bear form.
You know what? They don't, because he's just talking to him, and the whole thing was to not upset him. Because they didn't. Yeah,
that's what I mean. They don't, but they, as in the New Line Cinema executives, had to show him in his bear form then.
Exactly. I don't know why.
Otherwise, it would have been, who's this dude with the eyebrows?
Pretty much.
Why does he have eyebrows like that?
But
it's a
like
bear
how they
person.
Showed, like in the book, they make mention of the bees and the milk and all that stuff, and they showed all that in the movie, which I thought was cool.
Why does he have a goddamn dorsal fin? I don't understand this character.
We'll get into more.
We'll get into Bjorn
later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's another
Christ.
one. I always called him Bjorn. And then the movie came out and they call him Beorn. I'm like, well, I guess I got to train myself to say that different too.
That's that. So that's a pin in Hobbit Part 1. We'll pick up next one with the Desolation of Smaug.
Smaug.
Before we sign off, though, I think John has some things for us.
Yeah.
I got a few things. So, Part 1, we got to do corrections.
Oh!
Actually...
Shit, what we fuck up?
I hope it's something I said. I hope it's something I said.
Oh, there's a couple. All right, starting out in the Cats episode, I said that T.S. Eliot was Irish or something. He was actually
Irish or something wasn't accurate.
He was actually American. And then he later moved to when he was 25, I think he moved to England and became a British citizen. He also sucked as a person.
That falls into or something though.
Well, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, he was apparently an anti-Semite, and had views that approached fascism. And I guess if you read Cats in a certain way, the way like society is organized in Cats is kind of how he ideally viewed things, like everybody in their place and then the smartest, best people at the top, which I think that's why he wanted to be British, because he liked the monarchy.
So, depending on the magic, Cats is fascist.
Yes. He actually wrote a review of Animal Farm where he was like, yeah, the pigs should be in charge.
Oh, that's funny.
Also, on the origins of Jellicle, it looks... A lot of sources say that it's derived from his niece, his infant niece, attempting to say, "Dear little cat." So...
That's not even close.
If like a baby is trying to say niece. "Dear little cat," I don't know. I mean, it seems apocryphal. Like, I don't know if that's... It seems like maybe a made-up reason, but a lot of sources claimed it. Anyway, take it for what you will. In Wonder Woman episode, Blake suggests that Saved by the Bell was from the 80s.
It's from the 90s.
It first premiered in 89, so it was primarily a 90s show.
Right. Okay.
These are a little bit nitpicky. But Blake also mentioned Gadzooks as an 80s mall staple. And it was founded in 83, but it only existed in Texas. It had 33 stores in Texas by 1992, so it wasn't like a...
Hold on. So far, your corrections of me have been where I was correct.
Well, Gadzooks would not have been in this mall by 84.
Blake, it depends on the kind of magic.
Exactly. I'm a little disappointed in these because I'm all great. Look, I'm fine with being corrected, but don't say, by the way, you were wrong because you were right.
Well, you weren't. You weren't.
You said that Saved by the Bell was from the 80s, and while it debuted in 89...
Well, it debuted in the 80s.
Yeah.
It was also on in the 90s.
Yeah.
Debuted at the very end of the 80s.
Which is still
December 31st?
The last year of the 80s.
John, I'm pretty disappointed in you right now. And you said Gadzooks was a store in the 80s, and while it existed for most of the decade in the 80s, I'm going to have to go ahead and say that you're dead wrong. You should be ashamed of yourself.
It wouldn't have been in this mall in Washington,
we don't even
DC.
know what mall they were in.
It was in DC.
It could have been a prototype. We don't know.
No.
Anyway, I'm very disappointed.
Okay, you're disappointed in being corrected. I understand.
No, I'm all for being corrected, but not being corrected on being right.
Anyway,
please tell me you got another one with me where I was actually wrong. No, that's what I want.
You said that Mongols lacked razzle-dazzle, which clearly...
You know what?
They did not.
This is true.
I said that we've been doing this for 40 years, referring to the terrible green screen in Wonder Woman 84. But blue screen, or chroma key, which is all basically the same thing, was used in Thief of Baghdad in 1940. So it's been more like 80 years.
Damn! Wow. Interesting.
And that's the end of my corrections.
Okay, hang on. They were doing that shit in 1940, but Adam West had to run in front of a projection?
Well, I mean, that was when they first started. The first feature that used chroma key was Thief of Baghdad. It wasn't like necessarily a industry standard or anything. But... And they messed with like lots of different techniques. You know, there's like the sodium. What is it? The sodium lights, or I can't remember exactly what the technique's called that they used in the birds. And it's like super duper good, but it's such a complex process, and they couldn't replicate this like prism that they used to do it. Anyway, it's wild shit.
Also, I want to say that when the first time you said Thief of Baghdad, I thought you said FIFA Baghdad, and I was like, fucking soccer having chroma key in the 30s. What the hell's going on? And then my brain finally caught up. It's like, oh, Thief of Baghdad. Got it.
Of Baghdad. So that's that on the corrections. And I have a couple of plugs real quick. So I posted about this on the social medias, but I never mentioned it on the show. Which is I gone and did a guest spot on the Multiversal Soldiers podcast a couple months ago.
You did a good job, by the way.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So I thought I should mention it on the show at least. So the hosts Mike and Rob are over there talking about oddities of the DC and Marvel film and TV universes, and we chatted about the 2005 sci-fi original Man-Thing. So, if your dick's getting soft and you need more of this voice, go check out Multiversal Soldiers.
I will say you definitely classed the place up over there.
Hell yeah.
Proud of you.
Well, thank you.
I'm really hoping like some weird podcast that has nothing to do with movies or anything just wants me on there. And I can just go in there and mess it up.
Just take a big steaming dump in the middle of it.
I think this is going to be like when they did the Simpsons Family Guy crossover. And we're all going to be like, and then maybe next time you can come to our podcast. And they're going to be like, yeah, we're not going to be doing that.
There has been discussion of us doing a show of all of us together. So we'll keep you posted on that.
I'm down for that
chaos.
too.
Yeah.
Chaos.
It might be chaos.
It will be chaos. It's hard enough to not talk over 3 people.
5 people all trying to get in their jokes at the same time. It's gonna be good. And secondly, I'm gonna plug. I'm in a new group art show with Gallery 1988. The theme was to give like original NES games the movie poster treatment. So I did a poster for the classic beat 'em up Bad Dudes. Prints are available through the gallery's website, 1988 spelled out.com.
When the president gets kidnapped, you need some bad dudes.
When the president gets kidnapped and you don't have any big ass motherfuckers.
You only got a couple of bad dudes.
Settle for the bad dudes.
So when you search on wish.com for big ass motherfuckers, you get bad dudes.
But yeah, it's a cool show. Lots of nice artwork over there. That's all I got.
Well, there you go. We could have kept this thing under 2 hours, but John had to attack Blake for no reason at all.
I know.
I had to get in there on the nitpicks. Actually.
Christ almighty.
Like I said, I was hoping that I made some mistakes, but it turns out I didn't.
Yeah. It's a good thing Blake doesn't have a corrections segment since we're doing Lord of the Rings shit.
Oh, God.
Probably when I go back and listen to it, I'm probably going to be correcting myself.
Yeah, just send those over to me.
I will.
Okay.
I will.
I'm not going to check all this stuff.
Or, John, you do your own corrections, and then we'll just have a nice little fight.
Because I'm pretty sure I've gotten something wrong. Yeah. Like, I know I got something mixed up tonight. I know that. I just know it. So, it's just so much shit to remember.
Yeah.
Yet you do it.
Somehow. If only I'd remembered, like, useful shit, I'd probably be, like, so far ahead in my life.
I just want to come in with, like, call it corrections and come in with wild lies. Like...
Oh, yeah, I will
did
lose
you know
my fucking mind.
that Bilbo was actually Gandalf and Galadriel's son?
Oh, God. Ay. Yeah. If you want a 4-hour episode, go ahead and start doing that shit. I'll have my stack of books going through the appendix to find the family trees and shit, and be like, no.
Yeah, but those family trees are fabricated. That's what they want you to think. The stuff that should have been remembered was lost, bro.
Fuck. Don't recite the deep magic to me, witch.
Thank you for listening to Garbage Theater. As always, you can find us online at facebook.com/Garbage Theater, on Twitter at Garbage_Theater, and on Instagram at Garbage_Theater. If you'd care to leave us a review on iTunes, we would very much appreciate it. And if you have a movie suggestion or just want to reach out to us, you can contact us at any of our social channels or email us directly at garbagetheaterpodcast@gmail.com. Don't forget to like and subscribe for all the latest episodes and happenings. Good night, and see you next time, folks.